Hello, everyone. Welcome. I am Briar Harvey. This is the Neurodiversity Media Network, and we are here with the incredible Nicole Barham today talking about money mastery. Now, last week we talked about the money coming in. This week, we're going to talk about the money going out, which, as I have noted, for me at least, it's all of the money, all of the time. Terrible, terrible, terrible. I told Nicole that I was both dreading and looking forward to this episode in equal measure. So I'm sure we have a lot of ground to cover today. How are you, my friend?
I am doing so well, Briar. How are you?
I am well.
Awesome. You excited to talk about the money going out?
Yeah, I'm excited to hear how to keep the money from going out,
Yeah,
right? That's the goal.
yeah. We are definitely going to talk about that. Because yeah, you're right. That's the goal. If you're building your empire, right, you want to make sure that it just doesn't like funnel through, comes in and goes out, right? So yeah, I'm excited to talk about that today.
So let's start at the top. We are obviously using 5 Minute Bookkeeper to
Yeah.
track our expenditures, our income, and our outgo. What do we need to know, first of all, about keeping track of this stuff?
Yeah, so you're started your business. It's so easy sometimes to start your business, Briar, that people just, set up shop, open the doors, and I'm in business. And so the financial foundation might not be one of the first things that they think about when they are talking about, getting their finances, getting their business going, right? And so today I want to talk about, how do you manage the finances so that you can have control on what's going out. Whether or not you're in business, I'm sure this has happened to you a few times where you're like, let me go check my bank account. And you think it's one number, but then when you get to the account, it's a whole nother number. And usually it's a lot less than you thought it was going to be.
It's
And
always less.
always, if somebody has been surprised by more, let me know. But it's usually less. And so, there's a formula for ensuring that, it's not just coming in and going out. That you're actually keeping some of it, you're allocating it. That's how you manage your finances, right? That's literally how you would take care of the finances if you want to build a sustainable business. So, yeah.
I know for me personally, and I think for a lot of people, I did not go into business first. I freelanced. And
Mm,
that's an entirely different mindset.
yeah,
Freelancing is very much a working for other people and getting paid. And the
right,
number of freelancers I know who really don't treat that as a business, despite the fact that it is
right.
high. So, what kind of mindset should we be cultivating here?
So, I think for when you think about freelancers, contractors, 1099, they're closer to employees than entrepreneurs, right? And so, that mindset to say, okay, I'm working for this client or these clients, this is the set contract, this is the amount that's coming in. So it's almost like your quote unquote salary, right? When you're in business, it's a totally different kettle of fish, right? You're the entrepreneur, you own the business, and more than likely, you're hiring the freelancers and the contractors and the employees, right? So it's a different mindset when you think about this is on my shoulders, basically. I was saying to my friend recently that CEOs that get a ton of money, like sometimes we see these Fortune 500 and 100 companies, and they're getting millions of dollars. And we're like, oh, that's so much money. And running a business, like being a full-time entrepreneur, I'm like, they deserve all that money. It's a lot of responsibility, Briar. It's a lot of you literally making almost every single decision in your business that will either, move it forward or, put you out of business, basically. Right. So cultivating that mindset is, I would say entrepreneurship is 80 to 90% mindset. Same thing for the finances, right? You have to cultivate the kind of mindset where you're like, let me um, go look at my numbers, right? Let me consult my numbers first before I make big decisions in my business, right? You might have a big, you might want to make a big investment and you want to make sure that you can afford it before you go invest. And then you're like, oh my gosh, I shouldn't have because now all my money is going out. I have no idea where it's all going, right? So I think cultivating the kind of mindset where you're like, I'm literally responsible for this business failing or succeeding. Number one, and number two, I have to take care of the money, right? I have to be mindful of how I allocate this money, what I do with it in order to build this business that I'm building.
The single greatest outgo for me always is tech, because I'll just check out new programs, right?
Yeah.
It's a $15 a month subscription, and suddenly I have 50 of those.
Yes, they do add up. And I think people look at like $20, $15 here and there, and you're like, oh, that's not so much money, but it absolutely adds up. And that also adds to the money going out. And you're like, I thought it was $20, but $20 times 20 is $400, right? Yeah.
Right. So, what do we need to know to be able to make better choices here?
Okay. So I think a lot of people believe it's so hard. Oh my goodness, finances are so hard. I'm not a numbers person. I didn't like math in school. Oh my, if I ever tell you how many times I hear that, I'm like, numbers and math that's the only similarity, right? They're both numbers. That's it. You do not have to be good at math to be good at managing your finances. And so what you need to know is that it can be easy, right? If no one else has proven this, if you've seen me, or I know this is probably streaming on our platforms, there are people on here watching who know me. You've seen me on here showing you it can be easy. You've seen my clients saying, oh my gosh, this is so easy, right? So the first thing you have to do is get rid of that mindset that the finances are hard. Managing the finances are hard, right? When you get rid of that mindset, then the next step is, um, I can do this, right? How do I? And it's all about the doing. I don't want you to sit around and think I have to fix my money mindset. I have to get rid of this, and of course you want to do that work, right? You want to do the intangible work, but you also want to do the action. I always say the results, you'll get the results just by taking one tiny step every single day, right? 5 minutes a day. That's how I came up with my 5 minute bookkeeper. Because I'm like, if you spend 5 minutes with your finances every single day, you start developing habits that will, you're looking at your numbers, you're seeing what's happening in your business, you're seeing the story of your business. How much money is coming in? How much is going out? How much do I want to come in? How much do I want to go out? Right. So that's the second step. Start looking at it and actually tracking it and seeing exactly what's happening with your money. The third thing that you can do is, or you should be doing, is when you get to the point where you see what's happening with your money, then you start making decisions about how you want to move your business forward, right? So if you're looking at the numbers and you're like, I don't like the number that's coming in, how can I increase that, right? You look at the one that's going out, 100% of the times we're like, I don't like how much is going out. How can I change that? And then, and in within 5 minute bookkeeper, We use the allocation that Mike McAllowitz uses from Profit First, where there's like a percentage of this percentage to pay to the owner, this percentage to put aside for taxes, percentage for operating expenses, a percentage for profit. So when you start thinking about your business like that, and don't think that, oh, I have to do that when I'm making a lot of money. When I get to the six-figure mark, I'll start allocating or I'll start looking at it.
No,
Start looking
start
at it
much sooner. Much sooner.
much, much sooner. Yes. So if you can start as soon as today, wherever you are, whether you're making $10 a month or $10,000 a month, doesn't matter. Start looking at it, and even though you're going to be like, "Oh, Nicole, but it's so hard. It's not a lot. It's painful to look at." When you start developing that habit along with that mindset, I think you're going to be golden.
Part of it for me was really starting to feel good about the money that was going out, that I knew what was going out, and I could say, oh, yes, I'm happy to spend this money on this thing.
That's a mindset shift,
Hmm.
right? Because sometimes we look at the account, right, at the bank account, and even though we know, yes, we're paying rent, yes, we're paying for electricity to keep the lights on, like what I mean. Yes, I know these are essential, and this is money that I use or I pay to live or to take care of my family. Um, it's still hard, right? You're like, man, I wish I could keep more money in my account so I can, do this thing, splurge on this thing, or go on this vacation or whatever it is. So it's a shift in mindset to say, oh, I know I don't have a lot, but at least I'm able to, pay my bills and take care of my family. Kind of reframing it to see it as a positive and not, oh my gosh, all my money is always going out of my account.
I think gratitude is a big part of this, right? Gratitude for what money I have and what it's capable of doing for me. And I
Yes.
find that having gratitude brings more in. Thank you, money. Thank you.
Yeah.
How do we build in those kinds of rituals where we're feeling good about what's going out?
Okay, so it comes back to the mindset around money, right? So say you're in business and you want to make a certain like a number, I want to get to multiple six figures, I want to get to $1 million. If you're going to be holding on to the money and you're like, oh, I don't want to invest, I want to keep as much as possible, it kind of like, because money is energy, right? So it keeps flowing. So if you want to build your business to a level, then you're 99.9% of the times you have to invest in systems, people, you know, something, right? In order to move to that next level. Some people don't have to, but 99.9% of the times, some people do, right? So if you're thinking, oh, I cannot, I really want to invest in this thing. I really want to grow my business, but I don't want to invest this money, right? That kind of holding on to the money, not wanting to spend it, not wanting to invest it, that kind of it's a block, right? So anyone who does a money mindset coach will tell you that if you keep holding like this and your fists are balled up holding on to the money, even though you know that you need to invest to get to the next level, it's not going to happen, right? So being thinking about changing your mindset to, I really want to grow my business. This is how much I want to bring in. This is how much I want to go out, and this is who or what I need to invest in to take my business to that next level, right? And then start investing in that, not worrying about, wow, it's so much going out, but just thinking about what the end result is going to be. What's the end result that I want? I want to build this wildly financially successful business, and I have to invest in people, systems, etc., in order to do that.
How do I measure that. So when I invest in the stock market, I can see whether or not my money is earning more money or losing more money, right? When I invest in my business, the metrics are not at all the same. How do I
Yeah,
measure?
a wing and a prayer. I'm kidding.
Right.
Yeah, um, okay, so as somebody who hasn't been in business for like really been full time for the last 3 years, have I made mistakes with investments? Absolutely. Have I made amazing decisions with investments? Absolutely. Right. Um, your business is not like the stock market, thankfully, because that can tank, right? So your business is absolutely within your control, right? And so you have to think about how risk averse are you, right? I'm not saying that you should just go out and invest and spend all your money, but just think about what's my level, what's the level of risk I want to take in order to build this business. Maybe you're the kind of person who's really conservative and you're like, I don't want to invest too much. Maybe it takes a little bit longer. Maybe you want to build up more reserves before you do this big investment, right? So it's very different for different entrepreneurs. There are people who would say, "Oh, let me use other people's money to invest in my business so I can grow faster because I'm not bringing in, $100,000 a month, in order to invest in my business. But if I need an injection of 100,000, I might need to go out to investors, try to get funding, whatever it is, right? Some people are like that. Some people are like, I am not borrowing a dollar from anyone. I'm going to work. I'm going to use the money that I make in my business and reinvest in my business. So it absolutely depends on who you are and how you want to build your business. If you want to go slower, use your own money to do that, or if you'll go faster by bringing on investors, you can do that as well. So there's no formula per se, right?
Right. There's no formula and there's no way to really know except for the growth of the business,
Yeah,
whether or not this investment has been successful. Are
absolutely.
there are there good markers of potentially good decisions? What does that
Absolutely.
look like?
Oh yeah, for sure. So I'm not saying that everything is like a gamble, right? It's not like playing the lottery. If you're looking at and what I do is look at somebody else who is in business and I want to either get to that level or I want to build my business like that. I get mentors and coaches, right? And talk to them about, okay, what are you doing or what should I be doing in my particular business to get to this level, right? So you do need to, it's not just you making all the decisions in your business, and it's also not always financial as well, right? It's, working with either a team or a coach, as I mentioned, to figure out, okay, this is where I want to take my business. What are the investments that I need to make? And there's so much, Briar. There's so much information out there. Whether you on the internet or if you follow certain entrepreneurs and how they've built their businesses, and they give away a lot of information for free, right? YouTube University has a lot of info. Google has a lot of info. I'm not saying to Google everything to run your business. But I'm just saying there's so much information out there that you can, make certain decisions in your business. You're not going in blind. You at least know, okay, this is what I want. And this is the type of person that I want to work with, or systems or people I want to hire, right? So that's kind of how you're going to assess how you want to move forward and just figure out what's best for your business.
There is also the Small Business Administration,
Yeah.
SCORE. Like, there are advisors freely available
Yeah.
if you need assistance on spending the money.
Yes, for sure. There are a lot of programs that you can join with your local SBA to, as you said, manage your money. What investment should I be making? This is what stage of my business should I be making a particular investment, etc. So yeah, you definitely have free resources as well.
Let's talk about time
Mm,
because this is absolutely inescapable when it comes to our money. I have a younger client who recently started working and is now aware that when he loses something of value, that monetary amount is attached to the number of hours that he worked to make that money. And I'm like, that's great. Let's get you to the next level where we're re-separating those concepts again. Time is not money, but
Right.
it is finite.
Right.
How can we manage our money without feeling like it's attached to the amount of time that we're putting into it?
Um, I think when I spoke earlier about, allocating a certain amount, whether it's 5 minutes a day, half an hour a week. I think you, as a business owner, at whichever stage of your business, you should be looking at your money at least weekly. Daily is great, but at least weekly, right? So when you think about that, building those really, baby steps, right? Those habits, you would not, you know, it's not much time at all, right? You're not investing a lot of time. And I know that people are thinking, well, it's finances. Why wouldn't I want to sit for an hour or two going through the finances? That's not a lot of entrepreneurs. A lot of us would probably prefer not to be doing the finances,
I
right?
think I'd rather get a root canal than sit for an hour or two with my finances.
Exactly, right? And so the time that, first of all, you can allocate the time. I say 5 minutes a day, 30 minutes a week. It probably is less for you, right? Or if you do more, you're probably fine with that too. But it should not be this thing that you're, like when you're going to do it, is you feel like, oh, this is the worst thing in the world. That is the fuel that drives your business, that runs your business, right? So see your finances as something that I enjoy doing, right? And I know it's a stretch in the beginning, but see it as something that you enjoy doing because you want to see what's happening in your business, right? It could just be a simple decision as, can I afford to pay for this thing right now? To as big as, can I afford to stay in business, right? So, yes, time is finite, but you also want to make sure that you allocate some time. And the more frequently you do it, right, the less time that you have to dedicate. Just think about it. If you don't look at your finances for 6 months, doing 6 months of bookkeeping or tracking is a lot, right? Because you have to sit there and categorize for so many months. Before you know it, it's an hour or two. And then when you think about that, you don't want to do that again, right? So, breaking it down into baby steps and really focusing on your finances weekly, managing it, see what's happening. I think that's the time that's kind of the sweet spot for entrepreneurs who to want to continue to do it. If it goes over an hour, 2 hours, you're like, I'm not doing this again for another 6 months.
So I'm spending this amount of time and I'm aware of the money that's both going in and going out.
Mhm.
How do I process where I'm at? It's not just about the math, right? It's about what?
It's about the story of your business, right? Or personal finances, right? Let's talk about, because the you can't be on top of your business finances, but your personal finances are over here like not being taken care of, right? So let's talk about both of them. What story is your money telling you about your business and personal finances? Is it saying that my business is profitable? I'm doing really well. I'm investing in the things I'm supposed to be investing in. The financial health is looking, we're in the green, right? Or is it telling another story? We need to get investors. We need more funding because we're in the red. So again, it's not just numbers, but what's going on with my business, right? Your numbers tell the story of your business. It's probably the only thing that does, right? And so again, paying attention to those numbers, and it's not just math, it's not just numbers, it's what story am I telling, and if it's not telling the story that I wanted to take, what steps can I take to change that story? And your numbers tell you, like literally helps you to do all of that.
Hmm. If I'm bad at math, how do I know what story it's telling me?
Because there's no correlation, right? Just think about it, Briar. If you're looking at, we're in July, right? And you're looking at July 1st to the 27th, and you see how much money came into your business, and you see how much went out, and you might have your cash flow, you're looking at it, and you're like, oh, this much should be coming in by the 31st, this much should be going out. That has nothing to do with math. It's just numbers. It's just, this is what is happening right now. How do I assess this? How do I analyze this? And what decision do I make to move forward? That's it, right? On our website for 5 Minute Bookkeeper, where we say how to be on top of your finances, even if you're not good at math. Because for some reason, people kind of conflate math with finances and numbers, right? And they're totally like, I know people who do really well with accounting or at accounting and are really bad at math, and vice versa, right? So they just don't, there's no correlation there.
I think part of this is that the numbers are a judgment. They say
Mm,
things about
yes.
me,
Yeah.
and
Um,
they say things about my business.
yes.
That's
Absolutely.
the story.
Yeah. And
Sometimes
then
it's not a good story.
I know. And that's why I said you have to also do the mindset. So it's not just, oh, let me look at the numbers and change my habits. And you have to work on the mindset. Like, what's the end goal? Like, what do you want to achieve? You might be in a situation where, and I spoke about being in the red, being in the green. And by the way, there is no entrepreneur that's going to love the numbers and the story that's telling all the time, right? You might be looking at it one day and be like, this sucks, right? And so it's not about, oh, you know, I self judgment. Let me tell you, as an entrepreneur, just overall, your mindset has to be, I cannot judge myself. If you keep judging yourself, you're gonna quit. It's not gonna be. It's gonna be very very challenging to run a business when you're judging yourself, you're judging your decisions, because you're not gonna make 100% perfect decisions in your business ever, right? So when the self judgment goes out the window, and you can just be, um, you know, take a look at the numbers, just be focusing on that, right? What do I need to do? And I'm a solution oriented person, Briar, and most entrepreneurs are, right? So just let's be objective. Let's look at the numbers. What are they saying, and what do I need to change? Yes, I made a bad decision by investing in that thing, or yes, I whatever. But oh, look at this great decision that I made investing in this thing over here, and it's working really well, right? And it's going to happen whether you're running $1,000 a month business or $1 million a month business. That's just how it is. Like, you're never ever going to be perfect in your decision making, right? So judgment out the window. Work on that mindset where you're like, if I keep judging myself, there is no way I'm going to be able to focus on making the right decisions that will help me to grow my business, right? So coming back to the numbers and not judging yourself is, okay, this is where we're at. This is where we want to go. How do we get there? And then start strategizing about that.
Okay. So, assuming that I have more going out than coming in, which I think is true for a lot of entrepreneurs,
Yes.
What do we do to start fixing that problem? Assuming that I can't just automatically bring in more money, what am
Right.
I looking at here?
Okay. So there's, yeah, a few things that you can do, right? And this is where the strategy comes in. And this is where you looking at your numbers, no matter what they look like, will help you to get to the next step. Because now you have to create a strategy around, how do I bring more money in? I'm in the red. I need to bring more money in, right? Or even if you're not in the red, you just need to bring more money in. Do I need to increase my prices? Do I need to go out and sell more, find more clients, be more visible? Do I need to get on social media? What do I need to do to change this number? And as an entrepreneur, I have brainstormed at least 10 different things that I can do to bring more money into my business. And then I choose like maybe two to three of those and I start doing that, right? And 100% of the times I've gotten to the point where I'm like, okay, more money is coming in. More, and this is just like, Brian, this is how an entrepreneur's life is, right? We look at the numbers, we look at our business, we're like, okay, how do I bring more revenue in? And then we go do the thing, right? So that again helps you looking at that number and you're like, I don't like this number at all. This is, it doesn't make me feel good. It makes me feel like my business will not survive. How do I change this? Right. So that's how I think of it when I think about what do I do to change my that bottom line.
I would like to point out that we talked a lot last time about like generational wealth and those money stories. When I look at what's coming in, my immediate impulse is not ever, how do I make more? It's how do I spend less?
Mm, okay. And you can do that too. I'm the other way around. I'm like,
But
how can I
well,
make?
and I think that that has 100% affected the growth of my business
Okay.
because rather than looking at it as an opportunity, it's always a contraction. It's a how do we be less so
Yes.
that we're spending less.
And this, Briar, is just think about um, society or our families that we grew up in, or our communities, or our religious organizations. Like, just think about how that is kind of subconsciously programmed, right? Into, oh my goodness, we have to spend less because you're spending too much money. That costs too much. We can't afford that. And so you get to the point where where the thinking is, in order to change this, we have to spend less, as opposed to how can we maintain the life? Because let me tell you, I'm sure that when you're looking at the numbers, it's not like you're living lavishly, right? It's usually regular average expenses. And so for you to say, let me spend less, it might mean feeling feeling less, right? Feeling the scarcity in that. And you're thinking, let me cut this thing off, let me cut off cable. Like, you know what I mean? Like, these little things that you want to keep, you want your family to keep it, but you're like, I need to spend less. Instead of, I want to keep my expenses. Actually, I want to keep this or make it more because I would love to, invest in this thing or buy this thing. How can I make more? Right. So that's the conversation that I love to have, even with my one-on-one clients, right? When we're looking at the numbers, we're like, okay, how can we make more money and how can we bring it in faster? And I'd love to, challenge my entrepreneur friends to think about that. Think about not just contracting, unless it's like wasteful spending and you're like, oh, this needs to go. But if it's something that's really necessary for the growth of your business, don't think about how can I be less or spend less or make it less, but how can I bring more revenue in to support this expense that will ultimately grow my business.
and I don't want to name names, but there's a huge difference between the your $5 cup of coffee is costing you from buying a house
Yes.
in
God.
consumer finance versus what we're actually looking at as business owners. Finance
Right.
is different when you own a
Yeah,
business versus when you have a job, and that's a fact.
absolutely. It absolutely is. And, whether or not you have a job, a $5 latte 2 times a week is not going to make you. Have you seen the prices of houses? Like,
Right,
you,
that half a million dollar house and my
yeah,
$5 latte do not seem to have a whole lot of math in common.
absolutely. Even if you're not good at math, you know that math is not mathing, right? So, and of course, it's totally different when you're an entrepreneur. Like, there are entrepreneurs who are running multiple six-figure business, $1 million businesses, right? And still have the how can I make more money to invest in more so I can take care of this problem, right? So it's not just like you're miraculously, without money or finance, challenges because now you're running this financially successful. I say all the time, and I'm half joking that when you're an entrepreneur, sometimes you're like, listen, it might be better to just pack this all up and go find me a desk job, a cubicle, and a steady paycheck, right? Because it's a lot. It's a lot on you to make every single decision, including the financial decisions, right, in your business. And so when you can get that off your head and be like, every 2 weeks, like clockwork, my deposit goes to my bank account. I can manage to live and pay my bills. This over here is, I don't know if I want to do this, right? I don't know if I have the stomach for this, right? And so my the thing is it's totally different, but at the same time, it really um it really is about you making a decision, right? The same way you can make a decision to bring more money into your business in order to afford the expenses that you want to, the things that you want to buy or invest in. It's the same way you can decide whether or not you want to get a job that pays you more money because you want to afford latte 5 days a week instead of two, right? Or you want to, you know what I mean? So it's the same decision process. And when we can get out of, I need to shrink myself, I need to do less so that I can, or spend less so that I can see more money in my account, as opposed to how do I bring in more to support the lifestyle that feels abundant and expansive to me.
This is so relevant, I think, for neurodivergent folk because the numbers for us in traditional employment
Mm,
continue to get worse,
yeah,
despite the work that is being done in terms of making work more accessible. Neurodivergent folks are more likely to be unemployed or underemployed, which means that if you're going to live well, you may have to start a business. And if
yes,
you have to start a business, then the mindset has to shift from how do I spend less to how do I make more?
right, yeah, for sure.
How do we start making that shift?
Um, like with everything else, Briar, and you'll hear me say this all the time, all the time. It's tiny shifts. So sometimes when people think about making a change, they think about, let me go from 0 to 100, right? And my thing is, how can we get from 0 to 1? Let's think about that first, right? And that is why sometimes, and I'm not ragging on anyone, right? If you choose to do what you want to do, but I feel like some of these programs, like you have like an exercise program called 75 Hard, right? That people will be sedentary today, but
I have
to
failed every time. I have and more than once I have tried to work
there,
my way through 75 hard. So just
there
proving
you
your point here.
yes, right. So that being sedentary today, and tomorrow you're running twice a day, cutting your diet, all the things that happen, right? If you can get through that, that's amazing. But that's not how the human beings are made up. Like, that's not how we are, right? So the baby steps and the little habits and the little wins and the little rewards, right? I've and let's talk about going back to exercises. I walk every single morning for at least 5 mornings, right? Every single week for at least 5 mornings. I'm not gonna, and I walk like 20 minutes. I feel so great. I've been doing this maybe 2 to 3 months now. I used to be somebody who's always in the gym. I have an injury that is keeping me from that. And Briar, let me tell you, just doing that 20 minutes of walking feels like, first of all, when I just started, it was so hard, right? I'm like, oh, this is hard. It's Florida, it's hot. Now it goes so fast. And then I started adding 10 minutes on my Peloton again, right? So baby steps. I did not jump from, oh my goodness, I have this injury, I can't work out, to running half an hour, then coming to the Peloton for 30 minutes. Like, I would not want to do that. That sounds so hard, right? For somebody who's not doing any kind of exercise. So the same thing applies when you think about, okay, how do I bring more money? How do I shift my mindset from shrinking, spending less, to now keep it where it's at and bring more money in? It's baby steps. Seriously, apply the same thing you'd apply to an exercise program, that you just start off little at a time, right? And then it starts to feel good, right? And then it starts to feel better. And then it starts to feel better. And maybe you're the kind of person, you have a $5 product, and you have a lot of people coming to you and they're like, oh my gosh, Briar, this product is so amazing. I'm telling all my friends and and you think to yourself, oh, the value of this product can probably go up to $6 because there's so many people who are getting so many results from it, right? And you increase it to $6, right? I'm not saying to increase from $5 to $500, because that might feel like, in your, like, viscerally, you're like, oh, I want to throw up, right? So I'm not saying that you should do that. But what I'm saying is, maybe you need to increase your prices by 10% or 20%, right? And then that would bring more revenue in. Maybe you need to be more visible. A lot of people don't like to be visible, don't like to be on video, don't like to be on social media, or just being visible overall, right? And I'm thinking some of my neurodivergent friends are like that. And maybe what you want to do is say, I'm going to take this one little step, right? I'm going to do this one thing that will move my business forward, right? John had said he was interested in my product 2 months ago. Let me reach out to 3 people today who had said they were interested in my product, and see if they want it. And you also have to be okay with getting no, right? With getting rejections, right? So it's going off into a little bit of a business, talking about business, but it's relevant, right? When you make those little steps and make those little decisions, right? Or just not little decisions, but those decisions to take that really next small step, before you know it, you're making like lots of steps. And you don't even, it doesn't feel that bad or that hard or that challenging, because it wasn't all at once, right? So yeah, that's my advice for, changing those beliefs and habits.
And I think there is so much power in doing more rather than being less.
Absolutely. Yes, there is. And you feel there's something intrinsically motivating, right? For somebody who is, you feel like, oh, I'm overcoming this challenge, right? You reach out to 3 people, one person says yes, right? And you sell a product for the new price. You're like, oh my gosh, I feel so great about my decision to increase my prices, because now I've sold my product at $6 instead of $5, right? That does something to you as an entrepreneur. It helps you to, like, it cements the value, it confirms that my product or my service is valuable, right? that expands the way you think, that changes your mindset about your business, about your products. And so when you do those things, I remember when I just started with 5 Minute Bookkeeper, it was ridiculously low. I cannot even tell you the number that I sold 5 Minute Bookkeeper for, but it was so low, right? But then when I started to, get feedback and these testimonials that were, a lot of them were unsolicited, right? People were like, oh my gosh, this is mind blowing. My finances, my bookkeeping has never been this easy. And they're telling everyone about it. And then I started making more sales. I'm like, time to increase my prices. The value has gone up. And so I increased my prices. People are still buying at that price. And they're still buying at a price that is much more than I started, right? And so that gave me the confidence boost. People buying, telling me how great my product is, you get that confidence boost to increase your prices, do something else, bring that money in, stay in business, right? That helps you to literally continue to build your business.
And when we talk about building a business here, I think it's really important to focus not on volume so much as success rate, right?
Right.
The people who are using your product are successful and
Mhm.
they're not asking you for refunds.
Right. Yeah.
That too is a metric.
Yes.
How do we incorporate these kinds of metrics into our pricing decisions?
Um, so this and this is a whole other conversation prior. Like this is like a pricing strategy, business strategy conversation. But it's the same way that you think about somebody coming to you and they're like, oh my goodness, I went to this, I bought this product and it has changed my life, right? And you want the same transformation. And they're like, I know you needed this. I know you've been looking for it. Go here and get this thing. Um, 9 times out of 10, you're just going to go and buy the thing because your friend says, this is amazing. You need to get it, right? So when you have a lot of people, and it doesn't have to be only referrals, you can have testimonials. When you're getting all these testimonials, this is again confirmation that I can increase my prices, right? If you are making no sales, if you're if if people are asking for refunds, then that you definitely know that something is broken in your business. You need to look at something needs to shift, right? And so the same the it's the same way that you would use the rave reviews, the testimonials, the confirmation, right? The number of sales to say, okay, this is valuable. Let me increase my prices. It's the same way that you would say, not making any sales, people are complaining about the prices, and people are asking for refunds. Then I might need to look at my pricing, maybe reduce my price, or I need to make some other shift in my business, increase the quality of my product, something, improve the quality of my product, something like that.
Because this all comes back to the story that our business tells us, right?
Absolutely.
About itself. What are some other markers of things that need to be changed when our finances are telling us these stories?
Mhm.
What can we see it saying like ahead of time? What are the leading indicators here?
Okay, so when you think about the story that your money is telling you, it cannot only be what it's telling you now, like on this date. What is the future? And so that's in my CFO services, we talk about projections and cash flow, right? What's going to happen in the future? I know what the story is to this point. How can I take a look at what's happening the next 3 to 6 months down the road, and how do I, plan for that? So it might be like you have a product where you have a subscription where you have clients, you have recurring income. What's my recurring income? How much am I expecting into my business next 6 months, right? Then you think about, if I'm expecting $5,000 in recurring income but my business needs to make $15,000 a month. How do I bring in an additional 10,000 each month, right? And so that's how you again start you know, you're now writing the story, right? Yes, your money tells you a story. You can also write your own money story in terms of not in terms of mindset and healing your money, any kind of trauma you have around money or anything like that, but just looking at the raw data, just looking at the numbers and saying, okay, the next few months, this is what I need to do in order to get to this level of income. I might need to bring more recurring income in. I want to get my recurring income to $10,000 a month so I can, reduce the burden of always bringing more new business in at $10,000 each month. So if I have 10,000 coming in recurring, then I can bring in $5,000 a month, and that's easier, right? Than bringing in 10 each every single month, right? So just those things. How do I rewrite or how do I write my money story to fit to build the kind of business that I want to build, right? I can't just be using, okay, this is what is happening, but you also need to be planning, strategizing, projecting out into the future, and figure out how you're going to build that business of your dreams.
What if I'm bad at it?
Get good at it.
Mhm.
Yeah, that
And and that's in the story, right? I
right.
can I can see that this experiment didn't work, so I
Mhm.
have to try something new. Or
Right.
I can see that this experiment works really well, so I should double down on it.
Yes.
But we have to know what those numbers are to be able to make these determinations.
Yeah, but the thing is, Briar, it's all trial and error. I'm sorry. Like there is no, like there's no formula. I mean, there is a formula, but there's no template, right? There's nothing that be like, okay, I want to start a business. What's the kit that I should be buying, right? To create this business that's going to be you see sometimes you have that graphic where people are like, this is how people think business is. So they have like a straight line going all the way up. And then the reality is a line, some squiggly going down, then going up, then you know what I mean? So it's all a part of this soup, right? That, there's so much going on. And that's why, like, the heart of an entrepreneur, let me tell you, it's not for the faint of heart. It is literally, very unpredictable, but it's, looking at the numbers really helps you to know what's the next best step. It's not what's the 5 year. Yes, you can have your 5 year 10-year plan, but when you're really in there trying to figure out how this works best for you and your business, right? What's the next best step? For me, when I just started out, this was I had a full-time job. This was my side business, right? I started to keep track of my numbers from the very beginning, right? And when I was looking at those numbers, I'm like, okay, I think I was making 63,000 a year in my job. And I said to myself, if I can make 63,000 a year in my business, because of course that's how I thought it worked, right? Then I could quit my day job. So then my goal was make enough money to quit my day job. That was what was in front of me. I was not thinking about a multiple six-figure business. I wasn't thinking about, building this, business, coaching people, CFO strategy, this, that. I wasn't thinking about any of that, right? Was not even on my radar. My next best step. By the time I figured out my next best step, and then I did, I started to make that money. Then by the following year, I'm like, ooh, I doubled my yearly income in like 3 months. And then a different strategy started to take shape, right? I quit my day job, right? I'm like, yes, that's what I wanted to do. That was my first goal. Now, what's the next goal? I want to build this business because I want to support my family. I want to support my autistic son. I want to send my daughter to college debt free, right? How do I bring in the kind of money that would support that? Boom, started to work on. So that's kind of how you have to approach it. I'm not saying that you can't have a long term plan, but 9 times out of 10, if we just look at what's in front of us and strategize from that point, then that's how you get to your goal, right? I know you don't love it. You have to, like, I don't know what else to say. Like, you have to figure out a way to enjoy the stuff, even maybe outsource it. I work with clients who are like, I don't want to do this myself. And so we will do their bookkeeping, and then we have monthly meetings, and we look at the numbers, and we talk about their story, and we talk about their goals as well, and where do I want to be, what do I want to do for the rest of the year. So you don't have to do this yourself, but it has to happen in your business, whether you outsource it or yeah, or do it yourself.
And I think there's something here about playing the short game to play the long game. But I have to know
Absolutely.
what that short game is, and that's in the numbers.
Yes. Yeah. It's what's in front of you. Like, there's a saying that yes, you want to get to the Super Bowl. Like, you want to get to the Super, you want to win the Super Bowl, right? But let's get through these games. Let's get through the playoffs, right? I'm not a sports or football fan, so or I don't know much about it. So if I'm saying the wrong thing,
No,
forgive me.
no, we're right on track.
Okay. So yeah, so that's the thing. Like, what's the next game? Who are we playing next? Okay, we need to get through this team. So you're not sitting down at the Super Bowl, right? You're just getting to the next. What's the next game? What's the next game plan? What do we do while we're in the game? Timeout. What's the coach? What's the game plan? What are we going to do next? So that's the same thing. Apply that to your business. What's the next best step to get to your goal?
And I think that the only thing to offer here is some encouragement
Yeah,
because that's
absolutely.
hard.
Yes, it is. It is. And that's why I also feel like there is, inundating yourself with, or your mind with positivity, right? Positive things. There's going to, as I said before, there's no straight line to financial success in your business, right? And so you have to have rituals, daily rituals, practices. We talked about gratitude earlier. um, Making sure that you know why you're doing this business, why you're in business, right? I feel like that big why, when you can come back to that, that really helps you to stay grounded, right? To stay in the game, right? You're gonna feel like quitting, but when you think about, but I have my autistic son that I want to take care of, make sure he's taken care of even when I'm not around anymore, right? I don't want my daughter to be paying these huge, getting these huge student loans and paying getting student loans and paying these huge, um, bills, right? Interest rates. Um, I don't want to have a 3 hour commute to Miami to go to a day job, right? And so when you have that strong desire, or that why that's fueling you, right? That's amazing, right? So make sure that you have something that would keep you, like, when you want to get out of the game, you're like, I can't, because this is what I want, I need to accomplish, right? Mindset, work on your mindset. I love Jen Sincero's You're a Badass, that series. And I love You're a Badass at Making Money. And you have to believe in yourself and believe in your business, right? And she spoke about um, Jim Carrey when he was a struggling actor. He believed so much that he was talented enough to land a $10 million role, that he wrote himself a check for $10 million for acting services rendered, right? When he was did not have any money, was a struggling actor. And so having that kind of belief when you're in, like when you're in it and you're like, how can you think you're going to make $10 million when you're not even making $10, right? And so she talks about that and having this really strong belief and faith in yourself. Yes, it's hard. It's always going to be hard, whether you have a small business or a large business, right? There are going to be challenges, but inundate your mind with the the um the mindset, right? Do the mindset work. 80%, 90% of this entrepreneur journey is mindset. And so when you work on your mindset, you can get through the hard. It might not get easier, but you will have the mindset to be like, okay, this is not easy, but this is what I want to accomplish. And the only way that I'm going to accomplish this is to continue to build my business and do these things that I don't love, that are hard, but I have to do it if I want to get these results.
So buy that latte. That's what we're telling you.
Yes,
Please go buy
absolutely.
the latte.
That's not what's gonna make your business financially successful.
And I think that's such a good place to leave it, because this is the money going out is a fact of life. It's
Yes.
always going to be going out.
Yeah.
And so it's not about what's going out, but how do we support what's going out?
Absolutely.
Perfect. This was amazing, Nicole. Thank
Thank
you, y'all. If you have not yet purchased 5 Minute Bookkeeper, I'm going to throw my affiliate link in the comments and in the show notes. We are getting ready to launch a summer workshop series. So you can find all of that information at the neurodiversitymedianetwork.com. And we would love to see you in either of these programs. The whole point is to keep going.
Yes.
That's what we're here for. Small baby steps, keep them moving. And
Yep.
we will see you next time. Let me see here. I know what we're talking about, but it is gone, gone, gone.
A surprise.
Um, do, 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 do. We are going to be talking about, the bottom line.
Yes.
Also terrifying.
Yes. It's all terrifying.
It's all terrifying. And I am so glad that you are here to hold our hand through this. All right.
Thank
We
you,
will
Brian.
see y'all next time. Thank you for being here. Have an amazing day. Bye now.